One of the things that I emphasize on my show is this. Nobody cares about how great and successful you are until people understand what you had to pay to become it.
Yeah.
Right? And so I want us to have a conversation that takes people, behind the veil, between the pleats, so that they understand that the man that sits in front of me is a creation of something truly special, so that they can see themselves in you. So let's go to Brooklyn.
All right.
Let's go to Brooklyn. I know something about Brooklyn, by the way.
All right, my man.
Because if the story has been told to me correctly, you were the product of a very inauspicious encounter.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Oh, man. I love it. This man right here with the big words. I love it. I'm auspicious. I love it. Word of the day. Originally, I'm actually a product of a one-night stand. My mother was, she was a crack addict and she was a prostitute. And as the story was told to me, I was actually conceived in a hotel room. I have no idea who my dad is. Never met him.
To this day?
To this day, never met him. Highly doubt that he knows I exist. So just kind of coming from that and growing up very early, just literally sleeping on the streets.
When was that story told to you?
When that story was told, so I kind of went through a tumultuous situation with my mom. Me and my two younger brothers, it was a cycle.
Okay.
So my mother would get clean, we'd get back in her custody, then she'd go into drugs again, then we get put into group homes, get into foster homes. And I can't exactly remember the age, but I just remember like who's my daddy? I just remember kind of vaguely having this conversation.
Which every young man at some point wants to know.
Absolutely.
Who his father is.
Yeah, especially the kids, and I was a pretty good athlete and seeing other people's dads and being involved. It's like, what is that for me? And I just remember auntie of mine was saying that, and she was like, your mama was, all this stuff, and I didn't know if that was in spite of. And then later on, it was confirmed once I got back in contact with my mom many years later that was indeed the case.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I got to ask you.
What's up?
How did it feel when you found out that it was confirmed and that your birth, because it's one thing to be the product of love and commitment, right? The Huxtables.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I can say that. Too late now.
Yeah. Once upon a time.
Right. I said the Huxtables.
Yeah, touche.
Right. But it's another thing to know that not only were you not wanted and not planned for, but not even cared about enough for your birth to be noted anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's shocking. It's funny when you grow up in environments like that, and everybody around you comes from the exact same situation. You don't realize how wrong it is. You don't realize how abnormal that is until you remove yourself from that situation.
Right.
And then you look back and you're like, whoa, that was messed up. So at the time, most of the people I knew didn't know who their dad was. It was just a thing. Most of the people I knew, their parents were on drugs. So that was my world. So because of that, it wasn't as shocking until I got a little older and got involved with sports. And, I had my friends' parents supporting me big time. And I'm like, where's that coming from? You don't understand how much that, that parent-child relationship, how vital that is. And it got worse for me just because I was in multiple foster homes. So a lot of different things happened to me in there. So it was really messed up. But at the moment, it was just like, okay, you don't know who his dad is. You don't know what that is. It's just a thing where I come from.
Right. It's just a part of the pattern, a part of the cycle, a part of the trauma. And it makes me want to ask you, and first let me tell you what my intentions are for asking.
Absolutely.
Because there are people watching this show right now who either have been where you are or they are where you are. And they don't realize that what they're going through is a significant part of what it is they're going to do later. And they don't, more importantly, understand and can't see the trauma that it's doing to them, the same way you couldn't see it then.
Oh, absolutely.
So I want to ask you, the you that you are now, looking back on the you that you were then, how did the trauma manifest itself?
So first, it was my relationship with women in particular. We're so quick to say women got daddy issues, but there's a lot of brothers out there got mommy issues.
That's
and
right.
I realized
That's
one of them.
That's right.
Let's keep it real. You know?
Yeah, that's good.
And so I'm gonna take it back a little bit so you understand how that manifested.
yeah.
So I was in 3 different foster homes. So the first foster parent physically abused me, hospitalized me, used to beat my hands, and so they were really unshaky. I had to have physical therapy to get them back. So that was one mother. Just she thought anything that came missing in the house that was missing or broken, it had to be the foster kids. Me and my 2 younger brothers, never her kids, right? So taking out of that, so you add that up, your own mother, you feel abandoned you because of drugs. Now you have this physical beating. Now the second foster mother was probably the most important and hardest lesson that I've ever learned in my life. You know, we have this misconception that it's our physical scars that, you know, leave their greatest impact on us. Not at all. It's not the ones you can see. I got some scars on my knuckles from getting beat. You know, I got a shot wound right here. I got a lot. It's the invisible ones. It's the scars we keep in here and the scars we hold in here, the ones we try to hide from people. And my second foster mother locked me and my 2 younger brothers in a room for about 23 hours a day for nearly 3 months. And to make matters worse, she fed us this false narrative of, you're so dumb, you're so stupid, you're not shit. So imagine hearing that again and again and again. Not only was I in special ed classes until 8th grade because I believed I was stupid. So when I would get to something, I'd have to second guess it because I'm stupid. Like imagine being called stupid so many times that you think it's a nickname for you. So just imagine that. Yeah. Then I had suicidal tendencies. I tried to commit suicide on 2 separate occasions because of being told you're not shit. So you look at the evidence, biological mother, what she did, last foster mother, and then this one. And then my final foster mom, it wasn't as bad, nowhere near what happened before, but it was clear distinction on who the kids were and who the foster kids were. So back to your question. So you imagine all of that. I am blessed that I didn't turn out to be some horrible monster because there's some horrible men out there.
I want you to continue, but let me say this to you. I'm surprised you're not a serial killing, cat. Hanging.
One of my old acting teachers, he was like, thank God you're not like that because you would be this. I never understood it until I got through the trauma. So how that manifested wasn't so much, I'm beating women because I grew up watching my mother get beat. I had to stop my mother from being raped at one point, took a brick to a dude. It wasn't like that. It was a little more subtle.
It always is.
Yeah, it is.
It always is.
And you realize why you have these toxic relationships with people because you have a toxic relationship with yourself in the first point.
Right.
And I just realized I never saw a woman as my equal. I hated having women above me in power. So whatever job I was having, I hated having a female boss. I didn't realize it. I was just like, why don't I, like anything this woman says gets on my damn nerves.
Right.
Like, who are you talking to? You know what I mean? And I realized because of all the women in my life previously who were in a position of authority above me, in a position of power, they abused and misused that power on me.
Right.
So I just, subconsciously had that against it.
Instinctively.
100%.
Yeah.
It's probably, it was just protective, just protecting myself, thinking the same thing was going to happen. And then in relationships, just like, hold up, you can't talk to me like that. So overall, it was I never saw a woman as my equal. I was like, no. If you're above me in any status or not, I got to bring you down and make sure you are below me. And it wasn't until, I think it was 2017, I got back in contact with my biological mom because there was about a 10 to 12 year gap where there was no communication. And I wrote my first book, and when I was finishing, I had the dedication, and I was just like, who am I going to dedicate this to? Love my little brothers. I got some good people in my life. I was like, I'm dedicated to my biological mom. Because of everything I went through, it gave me the fuel, gave me this story, gave me this testimony to be able to put that in there, to hopefully help other people. So when I look at that, thank you. It was, and I went in Phoenix, Arizona with my biological sister. We don't have much of a relationship, so that's why I don't bring her up. And I was just like, hey, here you go. You might be in contact with mom. Here you go. My mom happened to be there. So when you come face to face with your demons, like really face to face, because a lot of us, we want to run away. We want to put it out. But those emotions, that trauma, it never goes away.
Trauma is a time traveler.
That's beautiful. Can somebody write that down? That's
facts, right?
That's beautiful.
Facts.
And it will hit you. And when you come face to face with that, I remember it was Christmas Eve. It was Christmas Eve of 2016 going into 2017. And I was just like, oh, because I have a surrogate mom who's a wonderful woman, and that's like my mom. And my sister didn't live far from her. So I went there and I was like, my biological mom here, and this whole time, you know, I had all this, and I was just like, it was the most awkward conversation, awkward situation. And I was gonna leave 3 days later. I was like, you know what, F this, I'm about to go. And then something in me said, just stop it, just go. And just to get in front of like, here, this book is for you. And I mean, when you become that child again, and you're crying, I'm not talking about Denzel, cool tear.
No.
Cry. I'm talking about that Viola Davis.
Yeah.
You know, snots. You know what I'm saying? When you just like losing your voice, and I just laid it all on her. I just threw everything after all these years onto her, and I ended it with "I forgive you."
But I want to celebrate that. But let me just explain to the audience, because I know you know what you actually did. Because what you actually did in that moment was not just forgiveness, or not merely forgiveness. What you actually did in that moment is you gave her back what belonged to her.
Ooh, okay.
That's what you did.
Okay.
Because the abandonment, the shame, the pain, all of that, it was hers. She's responsible for it. She created it. You had to carry it. And in that moment, you relieved yourself of the burden of carrying somebody else's cross.
Right.
That's what you did. Yeah, no, and I'm saying that because there's so many people watching who need to have the experience that you had, but they run from that hard conversation of looking somebody in the face and saying to them with love, this is what you did, and this is what it did to me. And unless you have that, and you tell me if I'm wrong, you'll never be free. You'll never completely be free. You'll always be, on some level, a fugitive running from something.
And that's an interesting thing. So I went through depression, and I feel like right now, forgive me, I know we live in a sensitive time where you say anything that's against the status quo, people want to go down your throat, but we're going to keep it real. I think depression is overused and thrown around quite a bit in society right now. And those who've actually gone through depression, a real depression, it is a physical weight upon you. You can't explain it, even though it's emotions and it's trauma. It is a physical weight. You walk, you feel differently. And I remember, I didn't realize how much of that weight I've been carrying all of those years until I built up the courage to have what I like to call a courageous conversation.
I like that.
Yeah, a courageous conversation with my mom to be like, this is what it was, and to forgive. And we think, oh, they don't deserve forgiveness. It's not for them, it's for you. Just like you were saying, to give up that trauma, just to release all of that. And when I tell you, I'm so light.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you look like
I'm so like I love me almost as much as Kanye loved Kanye. Like, it's that, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I didn't understand what that was until I gave that up, and I realized what that weight was and how it stifled and stunted my growth. Now I'm just like, that forgiveness is such a gift for you. It's such a gift for you, especially when it's the ones who did you wrong and did you the most harm. And you know, and it created a place of empathy for me.
Because now there's room for it.
Absolutely. I didn't realize how strong an addiction was. Being a single mother with 4 kids, and what that can cause to you, and how much of a demon that addiction can be, and how hard it is to fight that beast.
You're saying something now. You're saying something, because that's rich. Where you're going is rich. Because what you are proposing to everybody watching, everybody in this audience, even to me, is that we have the courage to look at our parents independent of us. And for a long time, I was hard on my mother. Long time, hard on her. And then I did exactly what you did, what you just said, rather. As I began to realize, here is a woman, independent of me, had her own issues, own things she's dealing with. And I think that because I show up, all of that's changed. We have to find the courage, and you did this when you dedicated your book to your mother. We have to find the courage to stop trying to forgive people and start forgiving what they did to us. You get the difference?
Yeah,
get the difference?
Absolutely.
Because it's not the same thing. Because we're not. I like to say we're not in a position to forgive people.
Right.
But we can forgive what they've done to us.
Wow. Yeah. And it's just it's such a beautiful thing, because we carry this trauma and this depression and this hurt and this pain around, and we start to identify ourselves you know, the label. That's why I'm so, when I travel and I speak to audiences when I'm on tour, I'm always like, be careful when you say, I have severe anxiety. Be careful when you say I have depression. Careful when you say all these things. Now, it's true for some people, but be careful because labels limit. And so you're labeling yourself.
And they last.
And I love that. I'm going to put that on there. And they last.
And they last.
And they become this identity. And, you know, you see it a lot. You see a lot of artists like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm an actor, and I love this is what I do. And you see, especially in music, people, you know, it's like I do my best work when I'm sad or when there's heartbreak. Yeah, that can be a catalyst for great creative work, but don't be defined by that, because then you see all the people, like you were saying in the beginning, that go to sex, that go to drugs, that have to depend on this stuff because you're not dealing with what's really there.